In this video, we will go over the 2019 October exam, section 3, question 14. This one is not a particularly challenging problem. However, there is one particular property that you need to know in order to successfully answer this question. Okay, so first, the property that I was talking about is the property of exponents, where when you see a to the mth power times a to the nth power, it is equal to a m plus n power. All right. Now, for those of you who are having a difficult time to remember this property, what I would say to you is that try to come up with an example, which I'm going to give it to you, and try to retain the example, explain to yourself after watching this video, and try to visualize this when you are explaining the example. So what I'm going to say to you is, let's think about that we have a little variable y, and this y, let's just say it is to the third power, and then it is multiplied by y to the second power, y squared. So now we could use a property, but if you don't understand where the property comes from, then it's kind of not very useful as you try to memorize the property. You're not really appreciating the property. So let's go ahead and imagine that you don't know this property at all, okay? But you do know something, because back in the days you learn about the area of a square. You think about the area of a square, it's the side multiplying by itself, so that's why we say it is whatever the length, then we do the square, right? So what I want you to see here is, what's the meaning of y cubed? It is really just y times y times y multiplying itself 3 times. And then what's the meaning of y squared? And that is y times y. So you ask yourself, okay, or I ask you here, how many y's are being multiplied right here? There are 5 of them, right? So we can express this as y to the 5th power. So now you're looking at the powers right here, so 3 and 2, and you think about, how can 3 and 2 to get us 5? And the most simple answer is, well, 3 plus 2 is 5. And this is how we come up with this property of exponent. So now I want you to think about that you have just invented this new property of exponent, because you realize that that's the meaning of the power y cubed and y squared, and you just look at what you're seeing is just 5 y's multiplying to each other. So that's why it's y cubed. Y to the 5th power, I'm sorry, y to the 5th power. So now, how is this useful? Because over here we have a r to the 2/5 power. Okay, so it's not as nice as a simple integer exponent, but it's still an exponent. But you can see here this is r to the r with a square root. So the first thing that we need to do here is to convert the square root r into its exponential form, and we do that by doing r to the 2/5 times r to the 1/2. Now, this is the second part of exponent that SAT would like to know and see if you truly understand what is going on with the exponents. Now, as we said earlier, okay, we have y cubed, right, and y squared. So I want you to think about that. Hey, how about you change the way you look at this y cubed by thinking about it's actually a fraction, but it's just 3/1. And why is this very useful? Because now you can take a look at here that the numerator of the exponent is simply the power. And what leaves us to the with the denominator? Well, that's actually the index of the root. Okay, so this is the index of the root. So when we have a square root, that is simply the second root. Okay, and that's why we will put a 2 in the denominator right here. Okay, so that's why we have r to the 1/2 power. And if you get to this far, so we can simply combine them together since you have these two terms with the same base. So you can join them together. The exponents would add. And the third thing that SAT would like to know, if you know, it's are you able to handle the addition of fractions? Okay, so one thing that you need to make sure of is that, hey, make sure you have a common denominator. Because if you don't, there's an answer right here that's a wrong answer waiting for you to pick. Okay, and we're not going to pick that because we know that we have to have a common denominator in order to solve this. So we would say, all right, the common denominator should be 10. So we're going to multiply 2 over 2 over here, okay, so that we can get a denominator of 10. And then we will multiply by 5 over 5 so that we can get the common denominator 10 for the 1/2. So we are going to rewrite it. So we have a common denominator 10, and 2 times 2 is 4. And then 1 times 5 is 5, and then the denominator is 2 times 5, which is 10. So we have these two fractions with a common denominator, and then we can now easily add them together. And this is 9 over 10, 9/10. So our answer is r to the 9/10, and that would be our answer. Okay, so make sure you capture the concepts, which is the exponent properties. Okay, this is just one of them. There are other ones, and make sure you are familiar with all the properties. Okay, and then make sure you are able to convert the square root r into r to the 1/2 power. This is very useful as you move on to algebra 2, pre-calc, and as we go to calculus. That's more or less as a given. Okay, we expect students to know that very well. And the third thing that you need to know is to make sure you know how to add fractions together, and it must be a common denominator for each fraction in order for them to add them. If they don't have a common denominator, you have to create this common denominator by multiplying some numbers, and make sure you do that for both numerator and the denominator to obtain that common denominator. Okay, thank you for watching. If you like this video, please make sure you press like and subscribe. And if you find this video useful, you want to share with your friends, please do so by sharing this on your social media and whatever means that you can share this wonderful resource to your friends. Okay, I will see you next time.